Okay, it's 1 p.m. on Thursday, June 6th. The Matanuska-Susitna Borough's Platting Board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Platting member Johnson,
Present?
platting member Goodman,
Present.
platting member Cone,
Present.
platting member Traxler,
Present.
platting member McBride, and platting member Halford.
Present.
Platting board members that were absent and excused are platting members Bush and platting member Burtz. Platting board members that were absent is platting member Krieger. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Halford, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you. We have the agenda before us, board members. Are there any changes, additions, or may have approval of the agenda? Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fred Wagner, Platting Officer. We do have one addition to the agenda. We have received a request for, we have received a petition for a reconsideration for the Lazy Moose Run subdivision. So we will add that at number 4 before the public hearings.
Any other adjustments to the agenda? Any objections to adding that item to the agenda by the board? Hearing and seeing none. Agenda as amended is what we'll operate off of today. Let's get right into approval of the minutes. We have 2 to be considered. I'll start out with the May 2nd minutes. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, deletions to the minutes from May 2nd as presented? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes from May 2nd are approved. We have the minutes from May 16th. I hope you all have a copy. Are there any corrections to the May 16th minutes of the Platting Board meeting? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes from the May 16th Platting Board meeting are approved. At this point in time, I would like to open up the floor to members of the public for public comment. This is for items that are not on today's agenda. So, Mr. LaRusso, step forward, please, and state your name, sign the register.
Gary LaRusso. I'm going to tell a story for 3 minutes, and for those of you that have heard it before, I'm sorry. For those of you that haven't, I hope you listen. Back in 2002, 22 years ago, I did a subdivision called Meadowbrook. 140 lots, I believe. It was the infill piece. Everything had been developed around it. And fully met code. Brought it in to get approved, and there was a lot of public objection. The usual things. Those of you that haven't been on the board before, you'll hear this time and time again. The traffic, my kids playing in the street. My mother told me not to play in the street, but that's my favorite one. But we ride our horses through there, so you were trespassing. Anyways, it was the hearing was down in the old assembly chambers downstairs, which held about 80 people, I think, maybe. Was full. Went through 3 hearings because of the testimony. And at the last hearing, the planning director, who was Sandra Garley at the time, who later became the City of Wasilla planning director and then the City of Palmer planning director, was well liked and still is. She's a wonderful person. Came downstairs and spoke to the board. And what she said was, when a plat comes in the door If it meets the code, it's already approved. And I never forgot that. And the reason is there's an expectation by the public that if a subdivision does not meet the code, it will not get approved. There's also an expectation by the other public, who's the applicant, that if they do meet the code, it will get approved. And that's my story. It was less than 3 minutes. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. LaRusso. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on items that are not on today's agenda? Come forward, state your name, sign the register, please.
My name is Jay Van Diest, Vandiest. And I just have mostly encouragement for the board. I was on this board for quite a while. A little bit, hopefully a little bit of information, but I was on the board for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years and chaired it a lot of those years. And I just wanted to encourage you guys, the work that happens here affects a lot of people and affects the valley as a whole. And as you know, we're growing fast, and a lot of that happens right here. But the work, appreciate the volunteering, the time, and you don't get paid a lot. I've been on quite a few boards. I'm on a board now with the borough, and it's helpful as a person. You get information. It's helpful for you on how you will act later, but it's also helpful for the public. You're kind of a check for the board. Like Gary said, when something comes here, it takes a while to get here. 10 years, a year, 10 months, a year, sometimes longer. It can take before the proposal actually comes before you, and a lot of time and work and money has gone into it. And so as a service you can do for the people is being prepared, not just reading the packet, but read the code until you know the code. And I read the code, and I've read the code, and I thought I knew it, and the more I read it, the more information there is. And so I'd encourage you to read the code. That information is so helpful because when something comes here, it is approved by staff, but you're kind of a check for the staff. They may have missed something, or they may have, there may be something else outside that you know or that you can ask. And that's one of the things that's helpful for when people come forward here, both the public and a petitioner, to come forward, that you have that opportunity to ask questions. And if there's any doubt from reading the packet, knowing the code, and reading the packet, that's the best opportunity, is to ask them questions. And it's really, it's hard to see, it's hard for the public to see if there's not an engagement with them with questions. If you're doubtful of why something made it, how it made it through the staff, or how it made it, or there's a large public outcry against it, then there's time to ask the questions and find out what's going on. I've been, the subdivision that was just mentioned, Meadowbrook, I was there yesterday and looked at 2 homes. The people that are there don't know about, they live there and they love it, and they don't know about the big opposition that started. So change, I would prefer things didn't change so much. I moved here in 71, and there was a lot less people. There was a lot less pavement and a lot less lines everywhere. But with people come opportunities and amenities. We have more stores, we have coffee shops, there's parks, there's lots of stuff. And so I've learned to appreciate that. It's hard to, there's more people coming, and it's inevitable we can appreciate those things. And part of what that is making things affordable for people. That's a huge deal right now. Young people, first-time home buyers, almost impossible to get in. Part of that opportunity is more lots for them to have houses. Most people in the valley live in a house, and most of those houses need to be on a lot, and those lots need to be made, and they need to be subdivided. Most land needs to get subdivided. Eventually, a conversation we had in our office recently, we were thinking, how long is it going to take till all subdividable land will be subdivided in this area? And it's out there a ways, but it's a concept to think about. People are coming here still, and part of it is our quality of life. Main part of it is our quality of life, not so much industry, and that has to do with the rules that are in place are an expectation the public has to meet. And there's a lot of hoops that are put up for them to get here. So you can ask them questions when they come, and I just wanted to encourage you. Thank you for that. One other point I was just going to make, if I have a second, is I've been in some meetings where the meetings can get out of hand when there's a lot of public input, and it's hard as a chairman, I was chair for many years, to bring that down. So you have to ask for no clapping, no commenting, stop the meeting sometimes. I've done all of those things, and so I try to keep the meetings civil and respectful for all parties. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Van Diest. Anyone else would like to come forward? Is there anyone online that would like to speak to a general nature? If yes, if so, press *3. No one online, Mr. Wagner? Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Okay, so we'll move on the agenda. There's no unfinished business. The next item on the agenda was added was we have a request for a reconsideration from Mr. LaRusso on the Lazy Moose Run, case number 24-048. So, Mr. LaRusso, would you care to come and address the board, please?
Thank you. We're asking for reconsideration of the case because, well, let me start out with, for the members that weren't here, there were 5 board members last meeting. And the vote was 3-4, 3 for the subdivision and 2 against. Of course, you need 4 votes, no matter how many people are here, for approval. So the subdivision was denied. And it was denied on reasoning that is not found in code and reasoning that is against code. And so we're asking for a reconsideration, which would open the case again. It'd be like a whole new case, to give the board an opportunity to correct the error that was made. I can go into details, but I think we should save that for a reconsideration of the case, assuming that y'all vote for hearing the reconsideration. And I assume you will. Why would you not want more information? But anyways, I'll take questions if you have questions.
Are there any questions from the board to Mr. LaRusso? Okay, hearing and seeing none.
Thank
Mr.
you.
LaRusso, thank you. Okay, we have the request before us. I would entertain a motion for reconsideration on this. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fred Wagner, Platting Officer. We didn't craft a motion for you to base this on. Essentially, all motions must be made in the positive, so someone who makes the motion can be as simple as, I move to approve the request for reconsideration for Lazy Moose Run. So something that simple will work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a board member that would like to make that motion? Ms. Traxler.
I move to reconsider the Lazy Mountain. I'm sorry, I just totally forgot it.
The Lazy Moose Run.
Yes. I move to reconsider Lazy Moose Run.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cohn. Is there any discussion on the reconsideration for Lazy Moose Run? Hearing and seeing no discussion, is there any objection to reconsidering Lazy Moose Run? Hearing and seeing none, it will be reconsidered. Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Halpert.
In the handout we got, this was requested to be scheduled for the July 18th meeting. Why did we jump it ahead so much?
Mr.
To the
Wagner?
chair. To the chair, Fred Wagner, Planning Officer. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your,
Well, it was requested for reconsideration on July 18th meeting.
so now what we'll do, in this process right now, we received a petition for the reconsideration. We haven't reconsidered the case yet. Now that the reconsideration has been granted, the case will be scheduled for a public hearing. The petitioner requested that it be heard at the July 18th meeting if it were granted. So that's what we're going to do. We have time. That's actually where it would fall right now is the next meeting. For the time we will, this now will be treated as a brand-new case. We'll start all over from the beginning. We will send out public notices, requests for comments, all the same way the case will be handled the same way it was conducted the first time around. So we'll have it on the July 18th agenda, and it'll fall under the regular, I think it'll fall under regular public hearings because we've done the reconsideration at this point, but I'm not absolutely positive. We might put it there since there isn't, I'm not certain. Where it winds up on the agenda, I'm not positive. Luckily, we don't do a whole lot of these, so, yeah. That answers your question. Okay, thank you.
We'll deal with it wherever it comes up on the agenda. Thank you, Fred, for that. Okay. Okay, the next item on our agenda, or the first new case to hear is Panoramic Preserve, and I will read the request. Okay, Panoramic Preserve, case number 2023-107. The request is to create 20 lots from Tract 1A, the Ranch, Phase 7B, plat number 2021-14, to be known as Panoramic Preserve, containing 80.39 acres plus or minus. Lots to be served by a community water system. Parcels are located north of East Nelson Road and south of East Fetlock Drive. Access will be from dedicated interior streets lying within sections 20 and 21, Township 17 North, Range 01 East, Seward Meridian, Alaska. This case has been continued from November 2nd of 2023. To the board. Do you or any member of your immediate family have a substantial financial interest in any property affected by this decision? Or will you recognize a foreseeable profit as a result of this decision? Hearing seen none. To the board, have you received or otherwise engaged in ex parte contact with the applicant or other parties interested in the application or members of the public concerning the application or issues presented in this application, either before the application or during any period of time the matter was submitted for decision outside of the public process provided by the borough? Hearing seen none. Last question, are you able to be impartial in this decision? Affirmative by all parties. Madam Clerk, could I have the public notices, please?
Yes, there was 291 public notices mailed May 14th, 2024.
Thank you, ma'am. May I have the staff report on this, please?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Panoramic Preserve will create 20 lots and one tract. Access for all lots will be from internal streets, East Forever Views Circle and South Panoramic Drive. Lot sizes vary from 2.5 to 2.81 acres. All streets will be constructed to borough residential street standards. All lots will be served by a community water system. The diagram is available at Exhibit G. A soils report was submitted pursuant to MSB 43-2281, found at Exhibit C. Average daily traffic calculations are at Exhibit D. An approved flood hazard development permit is on file. The petitioner has submitted a variance application, Exhibit B, with criteria A through C answered. The variance request is to the 2022 Subdivision Construction Manual A09.1 intersection site distance. MSB PD&E supports the variance to the intersection spacing. The new location for Panoramic Drive is acceptable to PD&E. Public comments. Main concerns were primarily school traffic, the bridge, and the creek. They are at Exhibit M. The preliminary plat of Panoramic Preserve is consistent with AS 2940-70 platting regulations and MSB 43-15-16 preliminary plats. There were no objections from any federal or state agencies, borough departments, or utilities. There were no objections to the plat from the public in response to the notice of public hearing. Legal and physical access will exist to the proposed lots consistent with MSB 432100, access required. Frontage for the subdivision will exist. A soils report was submitted. Staff recommends approval of the variance from SCM 2022 A09.1 and A09.2 and the preliminary plat of Panoramic Preserve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Curlin? Seeing none. I would invite the representative or the petitioner to come forward and address the board. Please state your name and sign the register.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, plating officer, and staff, my name is Richard Bess. I'm representing Rex Turner, and in this particular case, I've also brought along our hydrologist and drainage expert. His name is Steve Eng.
Yeah, hello. You want to talk some?
Yeah. And so I'd like to pretty much say we spent a lot of time developing this proposal, and we made some variances. And I know you don't like variances, but sometimes you have to change things a little bit. And so we think that we have a very good plan here. And so if you have any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer them. If not, I think we would carry on with Steve and his explanation of why we did some of those things. So anyway, so I'll pass it on to Steve. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, Steve Eng, Northrum Engineering. So I prepared the minor variance for intersection spacing, which is normally 650 feet between intersections. So we got a elementary school, Matanuska-Susitna Elementary School, so I wanted to have the maximum distance from Matanuska-Susitna Elementary School. So our proposed variance allows the maximum distance from the elementary school, making it safer for students. We've got a small variance to a very small cul-de-sac that has three lots on it. So it's like the variance is to a small, it's like a driveway-sized cul-de-sac. So I did not see any opposition from the borough engineers for this variance. So it makes a much better design. We took, instead of two roadways coming into East Nelson Road, we only have one roadway at a very minor slope. The previous design would have had a 9% slope, which could have been slippery in the winter, possibly resulting in vehicles slipping into the roadway of East Nelson Road. So yeah, we feel the design is much superior with this small variance that I did not see any objection to. I also prepared the soils report. We have about 30 soil tests or so, and the soil is really good. No groundwater at all, which is really unusual. Most of the soil is sand and gravel, It's an old gravel pit area, so really good soil. A little bit of silt. We had a little bit of difficulty on the east side with a couple of high dense silt areas, but these are very large lots, 2.5 acre lots, very large. For a community water served system, you only need about a half-acre lot. So these are about 5 times the required area. So big lots, good soil, good drainage, no groundwater. So it should be a really good subdivision. Any questions?
There will be opportunity for questions when we ask you back up after public
Okay.
comment, but Mr. Ring, thank you very much. Mr. Best, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, at this point in time, I would like to open the floor up for public testimony from the floor. If you would like to testify on this case, please come forward, sign the register, and state your name. Push the button on the microphone, please. Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Sandy Trainee. I live at 5048 East Fetlock Drive. I've been there for a little over 4 years, and I'm familiar with that area. In fact, the proposed area abuts up to the one just a little bit down from my back lot. I back onto the school district. I saw there were a couple comments from neighbors in the area on there, and I kind of voiced some of the same things they said. That street Nelson is very busy from about 8:30 to 9:30, and as early as 3:15 to like 4 o'clock. They line up on both sides of Nelson in front of the school, and they back way up. They line up in front of my house on Fetlock, and there are, it's kind of hard to get by when you've got cars on each side of the road backing up. And another concern I saw addressed, which has been talked about, I know before, about the bridge there, that it needs to be widened. So that's another concern too. But one of the major concerns that we've talked about as a community council has been the water. If you talk to the city of Wasilla, we had a meeting a couple months ago. The line going, and I'm not sure what Mr. Turner has planned for a community well, if it's the one that the rest of the neighborhoods around the school is already there. But there's been consistently, for years before we moved in there, problems with the water. We had a big meeting with someone from the city of Wasilla on the water a couple months back. And with the well that feeds that neighborhood, the ranch is the end of the line. And they say that's what causes there's been a lot of coloration, a lot of really brown water at times from a lot of the neighbors, and that's, when we moved in that neighborhood, that's one of the first things I heard. So those are my concerns, the traffic, the water. I don't know where it says a community well, but I didn't see anywhere where it said where that well is. But just that traffic in that area too, it's gonna add to it immensely with roads that aren't built to have so much traffic there in the school and things. And the school has tried real hard to monitor how they have people come in and drop off kids in the morning. The first half of the alphabet goes at this one parking lot and dropped off. The other goes the other way, and the buses are in a separate area, but it's still an immensely population, and it's just gonna add to it on a road that's not adequate to feed another subdivision, unless there's something else said. That's all I have to say.
Mrs. Straney, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to testify on this? If there's anyone online that would like to testify on Panoramic Preserve, please press *3. No one online, Fred? Okay, thank you. If I see no one else coming forward with public testimony, I'll at this point in time close public testimony. I would like to invite the petitioner or petitioner's representative back to the podium if they would like to further address the board? Did the board have any questions for the petitioner or the petitioner's representative? Oh, I see Mr. Eng is coming back, and so is Mr. Bess.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Rick Bess. I have nothing further to add except that I couldn't hear this last lady. I couldn't hear what she said. And so I can't respond because I couldn't hear. I don't know how I get that back again, but I could not hear a thing she told me.
My notes briefed Mr. Bess was she had concerns about traffic, especially during school, and she had some concerns about a bridge over one of the roads, the increased traffic, and then the second concern, or the third concern that I had noted was the water system. Is this, I think I read somewhere, this is city water, is that correct? From the city of Wasilla, or or does the ranch have its own water system? City of Wasilla?
No, we have their own water system.
Okay, you have your own water system.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the water system is a public water system, and it's Eagle Utilities is the name of the company. So,
Are there any more questions from the board for the petitioner or his representative? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
thank you.
To the board, I would entertain a motion for Panoramic Preserve. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion for approval? Thank you, Ms. Traxler.
I move to approve the variance from SCM 2022 A09 .1 and A09.2, and the preliminary plat of Panoramic Preserve, Section 20, Township 17 North, Range 01 East, Seward Meridian, Alaska, contingent on staff recommendations 1 through 4, and 8 findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Excuse me, there are 8 conditions of approval. They fell on a second page.
Yeah, it went on the second page, sorry.
Okay, that motion was amended to 8 findings of facts and 8 recommendations of approval for the record. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Cohn, thank you. Discussion among the board. Hearing and seeing none, is there any objection to approving this request for plat and the variance that goes along with it? Hearing and seeing none, it is approved. Okay, for the second item on the agenda for public hearing, we have a Seacon public use easement. The request is to create a 60-foot by 3,138-foot plus or minus public use easement on tax parcel D1 containing 188,280 square foot, equaling 4.32 plus or minus acres. The proposed public use easement is located south of South Glen Highway and directly south of East Grandview Road, tax ID 17 November 01 Echo 24 Delta 001, located within the south half section 24, Township 17 North, Range 01 East, Seward Meridian, Alaska, in the Gateway Community Council in Assembly District Number 2. To the board, do you or any member of your immediate family have a substantial financial interest in any property affected by this decision, or will you recognize a foreseeable profit as a result of this decision? Hearing and seeing none. Second, to the board, have you received or otherwise engaged in ex parte contact with the applicant, other parties interested in the application, or members of the public concerning the application or issues presented in this application, either before the application or during any period of time the matter is submitted for decision outside of the public process? Hearing and seeing none. Last question, are you able to be impartial in this decision? That is affirmative from the board. Madam Clerk, we may have the public mailings.
Yes, there was 34 public notices mailed May 14th, 2024.
Thank you, ma'am. May I have the staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The petitioner has requested a continuation to a date uncertain.
Thank you, Mr. Curlin. That was simple enough. To the board, is there any objection to postponing this? Well, Mr. Wagner.
We'll need to open the public hearing and then leave it open,
Ah,
and then we can approve the continuance. Because there might be people that got the notice and they don't realize there was going to be a continuance, so this might be their only opportunity to speak to the case. So we want to give them a chance now, or then they can come back when the case is when it is brought back before. And since it is being brought back to a date uncertain, we will be advertising again, so they will be made aware of when that date will be. So just thought I'd flesh that out.
thank you, Mr. Wagner, for that clarification. So I will open this for public testimony at this time. Please come forward, state your name, sign the register.
My name is John Stewart. My wife Karen and I own Tract 3 Grandview, which lies north of the subject property and borders Grandview Road at its end. I don't as such have an objection. However, Grandview Road's been a pain in my backside here for some time, for 10 years or more. The borough refuses to maintain it, although they tax us for road service things, and state that the road is substandard. At one point, the borough did some work on the beginning of it to align for the work being done on the widening of the Glen Highway and the changing of the entrance to Grandview off the highway. They did a short 1+ lane thing in front of the Wall residence, which is not up to borough standard, so it doesn't get maintained. On the rest of the road, the gravel company, and it wasn't called Seacon then, but whatever name they were using, said they were removed from using the road access along the railroad right away, so they began using Grandview as their access. Said, well, we're gonna update it. So they surveyed and they come with equipment and they updated about half of that stretch. And then they loaded up their equipment and left, and the borough still doesn't maintain it. So it's an old man with an old pickup, me, maintaining that road. So it seems kind of egregious that we're going to add a new road at the end of Grandview, but Grandview still doesn't meet borough standards. So that is primarily my concern in a nutshell there. I'm real adamant about private property owners doing what they want on their property, and they can make that whole thing a little crisscross the roads, and I could really care less, but they should have to upgrade the road that gets there. So maybe this is just gonna end and go away, I don't know, but I wanted to get my 2 cents in here, and kind of off subject, but I appreciate you hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to give public testimony? Please state your name and sign the register.
Wendy Craig. I was a previous owner of Tract 4, and I gave it to my son, Zenon McNeil and Leah Werner, so their names will now be on Tract 4. They're unable to attend today, so I wanted to come along and represent as a voice for them and for Frank and Paula Wall, who are in Lot 1A. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm just giving my opinions, or my view from what my son Zenon has sent to me this morning. He is concerned about the osprey protection of the osprey birds, the protection of the birds down in that area. These creatures have been there for decades, returning every year, and they're located right where that easement is coming through. Also, my son is the owner of the runway, and he's concerned about the danger with people public approach down at the end of that runway. We need the road maintenance, and for summer and winter. As John has said, he has taken on that role for several years, and he does everyone's driveway. He does every part of the road that leads to our driveways there. And sometimes it's twice a day he has to do that. Also, where Paula and Frank live, in Lot 1A, it's the top one there, they have dust flying into their house, onto their property constantly through the day with traffic coming through there. Now, that traffic, I've only been up here for a month. I live in Australia, but I'm up here for a month, and I've been watching it. The traffic seems to be going to the locked gate near the runway, at the end of the runway, which would be where the access would go to this public easement road. There's a lot of traffic there with the dust. Also dumping of household goods up that end. So I think there needs to be a bit more control going on there if they're going to make it into a public easement area or public access area. My son is very concerned about the safety of the aircraft and passengers in public while travelling to that public use easement. We are responsible for that runway, or my son is. So if there's an accident or an issue there, I believe he could be accountable for that, held accountable. Why does this need to be open to the public? That was my son's question. And what are the benefits? I'm just reading what he sent me this morning. What are the benefits of this proposal, and do they outweigh all of the factors and items being addressed? Why is a public use easement being created to enter private land? And then Frank and Paula, I spoke with them this morning, and they said they're worried about the traffic, the disposing of household appliances, etc., using it as a dump. They're very worried about the ospreys, the nest there. And the road needs to be paved if it's going to be if it's going to join up with a public easement road. It needs to be paved. What else have they said here? And maintained during the winter with snow ploughing and in summer. So that's what I'm just the voice here. But I've lived there for quite a few years prior to going back to Australia. So I'm very familiar with the area there. I've walked all around. I've owned that property, track number 4. We have a fabulous little community there, and we all help each other. So that's where I'm here today, to help my little community there. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your testimony. Is there anyone else that would like to weigh in on the, we have one caller? Okay. Go ahead, sir. You state your name and sign the register.
My name is Cheyenne Guard. And our concerns are mainly, I'm not here alone on this subdivision, there's more of us here. Our concerns are, what is this public access for in the middle of a wilderness space and past doable roads at this point? So is it temporary for some kind of work access, or is it just the start of a subdivision? If that's what they want, we can talk about it and see if that's approved, but what is public access in the middle of a space? And that's our concern. The osprey and other things are a concern also. We had that concern when they tried to put the prison there. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there's anyone online that would like to testify on the Seacon public use easement, would you press *3?
They've since hung up.
Scared them off, did we? Okay. Anyone else in the audience that would like to testify today? We'll see none at this point in time. Since this has been continued to time uncertain, we will leave public comment open. Okay. So now we're at the point, the staff has requested a postponement, so I would entertain a motion to postpone to time uncertain this request. Don't everybody speak at once? Okay. Mr. Halford, thank you. Do I have a second? I'll take that.
I'll second.
Mr. Cohn, a second. Thank you. Is there any objection to the board to postpone it? Hearing and seeing none, this will be postponed, time uncertain. Mr. Wagner.
To the members of the public who spoke, with the petition not being here, mainly the Mr. What was it? Mr. Guard. If you want to stay a few minutes after the hearing, I can give you some of the reasonings that we know of. The petitioner is not here to answer your questions, so we shouldn't be too terribly much longer. But if I can answer some of the questions you had. I know a little something. I know. I think so. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no additions, we're down to platting staff and officers' comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fred Wagner, Platting Officer. I don't have much for you. We do not have any cases scheduled for the June 20th meeting, so we are off. We will not be back in again until July 3rd. That will be a Wednesday. I'd really like to mention to the board, if you have anything planned for 4th of July and you're not going to be able to make that meeting, the sooner you can let us know, the better, so that we can plan around it. I understand it's a holiday. We considered not holding the meeting, but usually in July we're pretty busy, so we wanted to make sure and still have an opportunity to provide 2 meetings per month. So with that, I believe we do have several cases. I don't know what the count is for July 3rd, but we will have some cases on July 3rd and hope to see everybody then. Thank you for your participation today. Ms. Kineen, do you have anything for the board?
I do not know.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Ms. Kineen, to the board, closing comments. I'll start with my right, Mrs. Traxler. Shake your head, yes or no?
No comment.
No comment.
And welcome to the board. Mr. Cohn?
No comment.
Mr. Goodman?
No comment at this time.
Mr. Halford?
I have no comment other than I haven't been told yet what I'm gonna be doing on July 3rd.
Okay, I have no comments other than, Mrs. McBride, welcome to the board. We look forward to serving with you, and thank you for all your service. Thank you for the public for coming out. We are adjourned.